This is a video support for the Sports Development Planning final year presentation for the LSM project. This guidance will outline everything that's needed for the presentation and some issues for the seminar paper to consider. As an overview, this presentation will take you through the four sections of what's expected in the presentation, and I'm also going to outline exactly what I'm looking for in the seminar paper. That's where I will start for this presentation, is the seminar paper. The seminar paper needs to reflect everything that will be said in the overall presentation, and there are parallel sections that I'll be expecting to see in both. So the introduction to the LSM group aims and objectives are specifically an overview of the overall LSM project, which you have, but I don't want you to waste too many words on describing the entire group team project across all the key areas. I want specifically for you to summarise your key area and your role within that key area. And in the seminar paper, within that introduction, I'd like you to include a summary of your work plan key areas. I'm more than happy that you put your entire work plan, your final completed work plan, in the appendix of the seminar paper. But I just want a brief summary of the key areas of work and the key targets for year, with some justification from your original audit to support why you targeted those key areas. But again, the entire seminar paper is 1,000 words, so please keep these brief, to the point, and well referenced. The seminar paper then needs, in conjunction with your presentation, to present a brief summary of the headline results for the year. Anything that you put in your presentation, as you'll see in the rest of this presentation, any analytics or graphs, then this needs to be included in this brief summary of headline results. That should lead on then for you to focus on the management issues that you've identified in your 3 monthly review logs. What I'm looking for in this section of the seminar paper is that you highlight any consistent themes across the year, using those as a mechanism to help you present and justify some of your recommendations. Again, you've had 3 months worth of management issues with all the referencing that you've used previously. Pick out the consistent and major issues. There may be other issues that you think are less important. Leave them and just focus on the issues and recommendations that will actually make the most difference to the group next year. So the bulk of the seminar paper is using the information above to actually present and justify the recommendations from your presentation. Here I'm looking for very clear, concise recommendations that are well justified, i.e. you are presenting them based on the information that you have from your own results for this year, in conjunction with industry best practice and examples, and or references from academic sources, journals, books, etc. What I'm looking for is these recommendations are feasible for next year and are put into context for the up and coming group. Please make sure that you can keep the consistency of your referencing high and include in both the seminar paper and the presentation a full set of references. You will need to submit the seminar paper to turn it in separately to the presentation, and that portal will be open again until 12 p.m. on Friday. Switching our attention to the presentation, essentially the seminar paper will be your crib notes and the detail that you need to give your presentation. And I'd like it presented in that order: introduction to LSM Group's aims and objectives, and specifically I want you may present as a group, but I want each individual to present their own section, which will include the work plan areas that you focused on and your contribution in those work plan areas, the results and outcomes with explanation of your actions as an individual. If you've worked on a project with several individuals, I'm happy that there's going to be a repetition, but I'd like you to present your take, your individual take, and your own recommendations for joint project areas or individual project areas. The results and outcomes need to be presented in a variety of different formats, which are included some examples in this presentation, and those results and outcomes need to clearly inform your recommendations. Again, what I'm looking for in your recommendations is that you use your own results and outcomes, management issues, and that of the academic and or industry literature available. All the slides need to be referenced where appropriate. I'd like them to be clear, legible. Try not to put too much information onto slides. I've provided a LSM presentation template which is on Moodle for you for consistency across the groups. Keep them clean, professional. In terms of marking, each section will be clearly marked by myself. We'll also be looking at your presentation skills and confidence. I understand if you want to load slides with lots of information and read from slides or read from crib notes, but try to avoid too much information on slides. Use your bullet points and information on the slides as a way of explaining what you've done. You've lived and breathed this information, and you should have an opinion, and you should feel confident enough to talk around these slides without reading from them. So things like good eye contact, being confident in your presentation, clear and concise, and with the ability to answer questions. Again, for those of you who've had me observe you and listen to you in presentations, then you realise that I will ask questions as we're going through the presentation, not leave my questions just to the end. This isn't to put you off your presentation, but to explore ideas as they arise. So clearly identify your group, previous group from a few years ago. Get down into the overall work area objectives for your group very, very clearly to me, and not dwell on these sections. In terms of presenting your achievements, before you get to that point, I'd like you to summarise your own individual work plans and the key priorities that you're aiming to deliver, and then into this section, what you actually delivered. So a headline, a couple of slides on the achievements for the year, but for me, I'd need more detail. I'm looking for a bit more depth. So I'm happy that you present in different formats, images with a few bullet points. I'm also looking for analytics where they're available. So the key performance indicators that you are looking at to measure your success for the year. And that could be number of attendees, number of hits on the website, number of new people on Twitter. Consider that each and every one. If you need information from me on anything, then these requests should be going in over the rest of this final period of planning. So Google Analytics, Twitter Analytics, I'm more than happy with, but I'd like you to explain the patterns and not just put graphs in front of me. I'm looking for some detailed analysis where possible. You can present final league tables, and again give me an overview of the journey and what's happened this year and the implications of that. Again, screen capture from various websites, Facebook, the website, our own website, Twitter, if it is useful, any video footage if you think that's useful. So everything in the terms of presenting your results can be as creative, as innovative as you can make it, to paint a picture of what you've done and what you've achieved this year. In presenting issues, I'd like you in your results section also to consider some of the key management issues through your monthly reviews and present those. And again, you can present those in a number of different ways through your presentation. In this instance, one of the issues was travel distance for the football teams, and the group presented a Google map to demonstrate the key issue. I'm happy that you do this and illustrate and demonstrate these issues as best as you can. The recommendation section of the presentation is what I want you to spend a good chunk of time on. Up until this point, the overview and introduction in your work plan should not dominate the presentation. The results section is important because it helps you move into this recommendation section. And the recommendations are the crux of this presentation. So again, break your recommendations down. Consider the feasibility for the group next year. So these recommendations are put in context of informing LSM 14-15 team. And you can break it down into key issue areas, or you can break it down into key functional areas in terms of projects that you feel should be delivered next year and what should be considered. Or as an overview, you can look at your management issues and focus on those. I'll leave that up to individuals and teams that are going to present to me. What I am looking for, though, is not just a bullet point list, but in your either on your slides or in your discussion, but certainly in your seminar paper as support, evidence of industry examples and best practice, and opportunities to operationalize these recommendations. So it's not just a bullet point that you've come up with, but a bullet point or recommendation that we can utilize moving forward, that idea of feasibility. Think about cost implications of your recommendations, grant availability, partnerships that we might need to work with. Use those critical thinking skills of how we can solve the problem and progress LSM into 2014-2015. And again, here's an example of the netball, some of the netball plans, and some examples of other universities or other clubs, just to demonstrate the recommendations that were provided. Your recommendations can be very, very specific, as I've said. And again, use as much multimedia to demonstrate and support your lines of argument as possible. I'm looking for an individual contribution. If you want to present as teams, then you might spend the first 5 minutes giving an overview of the entire team, and then each individual going through their work plan area. The recommendations should be, there may be some crossover between individuals, but where possible, I'd like you to present your own ideas and your own recommendations on a given problem or solution. So we're looking at each individual presenting for at least 15 minutes and going through this process.